Welcome to your personalized deep dive. Today, we're going to be exploring the world of paradigms, those mental blueprints that kind of shape our reality.
Right.
You've probably heard the saying, change your thoughts, change your world, right?
Yeah.
Well, paradigms are like the operating system. Behind those thoughts, they're the deeply ingrained beliefs that kind of dictate how we see ourselves, the choices we make, even the limits we set for ourselves. We've got a stack of fascinating research and real life stories for this dive. And trust me, understanding how these hidden programs work can be a total game changer.
It really is fascinating how these paradigms operate largely under the radar. Think of like an invisible script running in the background,
Hmm.
influencing your decisions and perceptions without you even realizing it.
Oh.
And what's really interesting is that research shows these internal blueprints can have a measurable impact on outcomes.
Mm.
For example, studies have found that people with an abundance paradigm,
Mm.
those who believe there's plenty to go around, are statistically more likely to achieve financial success. So this suggests that our beliefs, even those we're not consciously aware of, can create a self-fulfilling prophecy.
That's incredible. So it's not just some woo-woo self-help concept.
Yes, not at all.
These paradigms have real-world consequences.
Real-world consequences.
It reminds me of a story from one of the articles where a woman was convinced she wasn't capable of public speaking because she had a terrible experience in grade school.
Oh, wow.
This belief, this deeply ingrained paradigm, held her back from pursuing amazing opportunities throughout her career. Can you unpack this a bit more? How exactly do these mental blueprints form in the first place?
Well, they begin to take shape at a very young age. It's like building a house, brick by brick, but instead of bricks. We're using our early experiences, the beliefs of our family and friends, even cultural messages that we absorb from society. Over time, these beliefs become solidified in our minds,
Mm.
forming with the foundation of our paradigms. So someone who grows up surrounded by messages of scarcity, perhaps in a family struggling financially, might develop a scarcity paradigm believing deep down that resources are limited and they have to fight for their share. This can manifest in behaviors like hoarding money, avoiding risks, and always feeling like they're not quite enough.
It's starting to make sense to me if you're running this scarcity program in the background. It's no wonder you might hold back from opportunities or sabotage your own success.
Absolutely.
But what I'm curious about is if these programs are formed early on, are we just stuck with them forever?
That's a great question.
Can we actually reprogram our minds to
Yeah.
create new, more empowering paradigms?
Absolutely. That's where things get really exciting. The human brain is incredibly adaptable. And through conscious effort and consistent practice, we can actually rewrite those old scripts.
Hmm.
It's like learning a new skill or developing a new habit. It takes time and intentionality, but the potential for transformation is immense.
So how do we start this rewiring process? Let's say someone resonates with that scarcity paradigm we just talked about.
Yeah.
What are some concrete steps they can take to shift that belief and start operating from a place of abundance?
One of the most powerful tools is the use of affirmations. This involves consciously choosing positive statements that align with your desired belief and repeating them regularly. This might sound simple, but there's actually a neurological basis for its effectiveness. You see, our brains are wired for repetition. Every time we think a thought or engage in a behavior, we're strengthening specific neural pathways, making them more likely to fire in the future. So by repeating affirmations like, I am a magnet for abundance, or wealth flows to me effortlessly, you're essentially paving new neural pathways in your brain, gradually replacing those old scarcity pathways with new ones that support a belief in abundance.
This is really starting to click for me. It's like we're taking control of the architect within, consciously designing the blueprints for our lives instead of just living in the structure we inherited.
Yeah.
But what about those times when the old negative thoughts keep creeping back in? How do we deal with those moments of doubt and resistance? Is it really possible to completely silence those inner critics?
It's completely normal for those old thought patterns to resurface. Remember, we're talking about deeply ingrained beliefs that have been running the show for a long time. Silencing them completely might not be realistic, but we can learn to reframe them and diminish their power over us.
Okay, I'm all ears. What are some techniques we can use to combat those negative thought patterns?
Building on the idea of affirmations, another powerful technique is visualization. This involves creating vivid mental images of yourself, living as if your desired paradigm is already true. For example, if you're working to shift a scarcity paradigm to one of abundance, you might imagine yourself attracting lucrative opportunities effortlessly, feeling financially secure and generous, or enjoying experiences that were previously out of reach. This might sound a bit woo, but neuroscience actually supports the idea that our brains have difficulty distinguishing between what's real and what we vividly imagine.
Wait, are you telling me that just by vividly imagining something, we can trick our brains into believing it's actually happening?
It's pretty amazing.
That's wild.
And the implications for personal transformation are huge. By consistently visualizing our desired reality, we're essentially giving our brains a taste of what it feels like to live with those new empowering beliefs. This strengthens those neural pathways and makes it more likely that we'll take actions that align with our vision, ultimately leading to real-world change.
This is so fascinating. We're diving deep into the subconscious, the power of the mind to literally shape our reality. But I'm curious, are affirmations and visualizations the only tools in our paradigm-shifting toolkit? Are there other ways to bring those hidden beliefs to the surface and start rewriting the script?
Absolutely. Another powerful technique is self-inquiry, often combined with journaling. This involves taking the time to honestly examine your thoughts and beliefs, asking yourself those tough questions that often get swept under the rug.
Okay, I'm intrigued. What kind of questions are we talking about here? Give me an example.
Think about an area of your life where you feel stuck or limited. Maybe it's your career, your finances, or your relationships. Then ask yourself, what beliefs am I holding on to that might be contributing to this feeling of stuckness? Or what assumptions am I making about myself or the world? That might not be true.
That's powerful. It's like holding up a mirror to our inner world, revealing the hidden beliefs that are running the show.
Exactly.
But what if we uncover some really deep-seated negative beliefs? How do we even begin to shift something that feels so ingrained, so much a part of who we are?
That's a great question. And it brings us to another crucial aspect of paradigm shifting, recognizing the influence of our environment. It's like trying to grow a beautiful garden in toxic soil. No matter how much you water and fertilize those plants, they're not going to thrive if the foundation is compromised. In the same way, if we're constantly surrounded by negativity, limiting beliefs, or people who reinforce our old paradigms, it's going to be incredibly difficult to cultivate lasting change.
So it's not just about inner work. We have to pay attention to our outer world as well. What are some practical steps we can take to create a more supportive environment for our paradigm shift?
It starts with becoming more aware of the influences you're allowing into your life. Take an honest look at your relationships, the media you consume, the books you read, even the spaces you inhabit. Are they aligning with the new paradigms you're trying to cultivate? Or are they subtly reinforcing those old limiting beliefs?
That's such an important point. It's like we need to become curators of our own mental ecosystems, choosing to surround ourselves with influences that nourish our growth and weed out those that hold us back.
I like that.
But I have a feeling there's a lot more to uncover here. This is just the tip of the iceberg, right?
You're absolutely right. Shifting paradigms is a journey, not a destination. And as with any journey, there will be challenges and obstacles along the way. Next, we'll explore some of the most common barriers people face and how to overcome them so you can stay motivated and committed to creating a life that truly reflects your highest potential.
That sounds like the perfect place to pick up in part 2.
All right, we're back and ready to tackle those paradigm-shifting challenges. It sounds like this journey isn't always smooth sailing.
It's true. Shifting those deep-seated beliefs can feel like an uphill battle at times, but like any worthwhile endeavor. The rewards often come with a bit of grit and resilience.
Okay, so let's get real. What are some of the most common roadblocks people encounter when they're trying to rewrite those mental blueprints?
One of the biggest hurdles is dealing with those pesky limiting beliefs that seem to pop up just when you're starting to make progress. It's like those weeds in the garden we were talking about earlier. You pull them out thinking you've cleared the way, and then a few days later, they're back again.
Oh, I know those weeds all too well. It's that voice in your head that whispers, "Who are you kidding? You'll never be able to pull this off."
Exactly. And those voices can be incredibly persistent.
Hmm.
But here's the thing. Those limiting beliefs are not facts. They're simply thoughts, often echoes of old programming that no longer serves us. So how do we stop those thoughts from sabotaging our efforts? Do we just try to ignore them?
Ignoring them can sometimes make them louder. A more effective approach is to practice detachment. Instead of getting caught up in the content of those thoughts, try to simply observe them without judgment. It's like watching clouds drift by in the sky. You acknowledge their presence, but you don't let them dictate your mood or your actions.
That's a great analogy, but I imagine it takes practice to reach that level of detachment, especially when those negative thoughts feel so real, so convincing.
It does take practice, and that's where self-compassion becomes so crucial. Don't beat yourself up when those old thought patterns resurface. It's a normal part of the process. Remember, you're essentially rewiring your brain, creating new neural pathways. And just like learning any new skill, it takes time, patience, and a lot of gentle self-encouragement.
Self-compassion. That's a good reminder. It's easy to get frustrated with ourselves when we don't see immediate results. But speaking of challenges, I'm curious about something else. What about that feeling of discomfort that often comes with personal growth? I imagine stepping outside of our comfort zones can be pretty unsettling.
You're absolutely right. Discomfort is an inevitable part of the growth process. When we challenge those old paradigms, we're essentially stepping outside of the familiar, the known, and that can trigger a whole range of emotions. Fear, uncertainty, even a sense of vulnerability.
So it's not just about changing our thoughts, it's about changing our feelings as well.
Exactly. But here's a powerful reframe. What if we viewed discomfort not as something to avoid, but as a compass, a guide pointing us in the direction of growth?
I like that. So instead of resisting that feeling of discomfort, we lean into it knowing that it's a sign that we're stretching, expanding, pushing beyond our perceived limitations.
That's the idea. It's about reframing our relationship with discomfort, seeing it as an ally rather than an enemy.
Okay, I'm starting to see how we can turn those challenges into opportunities for growth. But let's be honest, maintaining that positive perspective when you're in the thick of things can be tough. What about consistency? I imagine it's easy to get discouraged and fall back into old habits if we're not careful.
Consistency is absolutely key. Shifting paradigms isn't a one-time event, it's an ongoing process. That requires sustained effort and commitment. It's like exercising a muscle. If you only go to the gym once a month, you're not going to see much change. But if you make it a regular part of your routine, you'll gradually build strength and stamina.
So we're talking about making those paradigm shifting practices. We talked about earlier affirmations, visualization, journaling. A regular part of our routine, not just something we do when we feel inspired or motivated, but a non-negotiable part of our daily lives.
Exactly. It's about weaving those practices into the fabric of your day, just like brushing your teeth or making your bed. The more consistent you are, the more those new neural pathways will be strengthened, and the easier it will become to operate from those new beliefs.
It sounds like we're talking about creating a new lifestyle, a way of being in the world that supports our growth and transformation. And speaking of support, something that comes up in a lot of these sources is the importance of celebrating wins. Can you talk a bit more about that?
Celebrating wins is such an important part of the process. It's like giving yourself little rewards along the way, acknowledging your progress and reinforcing those new beliefs. Each time you celebrate a win, no matter how small, you're sending a powerful message to your brain, hey, we're doing this. This new paradigm is becoming our reality.
It's like giving yourself a pat on the back and saying, keep going, you're on the right track. But sometimes those wins can feel so small, especially in the beginning. What if we're struggling to see tangible progress? How do we stay motivated when it feels like we're barely moving the needle?
That's where it becomes crucial to shift our focus from the outcome to the process. Instead of getting fixated on reaching a specific destination, try to find joy and satisfaction in the journey itself. Celebrate those small victories, the moments when you catch yourself, thinking a more empowering thought, the times when you choose a new behavior. That aligns with your desired paradigm. Even the simple act of showing up for yourself and committing to your growth.
That's a great reminder. It's easy to get caught up in the hustle mentality and forget to appreciate the small wins along the way. But what about our external environment? We touched on this earlier, the idea that our surroundings can either support or sabotage our efforts. Can you elaborate a bit more on how we can create a more supportive ecosystem for our paradigm shift?
Absolutely. One of the most powerful things you can do is to surround yourself with people who uplift and inspire you, people who embody the qualities you're trying to cultivate in yourself. These could be friends, family members, mentors, or even online communities. The key is to seek out those who resonate with your vision and who will cheer you on along the way.
So it's about finding your tribe, those people who understand what you're going through and who will support you on this journey of transformation.
Exactly, because let's face it, this journey can be challenging at times. Having people who believe in you, who can offer encouragement and accountability, can make all the difference.
It's like having a team of cheerleaders on the sidelines reminding us of our strength and resilience. When we start to doubt ourselves, okay, we've covered a lot of ground here. We've explored the challenges. That can arise when we're trying to shift those deeply ingrained paradigms and discovered some powerful strategies for overcoming those obstacles. But I have a feeling there's more to uncover, especially when it comes to applying these concepts in our everyday lives.
You're right. The real magic happens when we take these insights
Yeah.
and start to integrate them into our daily actions and interactions. Next, we'll delve into some specific examples and practical tips that you can start using today to create lasting change in your life.
Sounds like the perfect way to wrap up our deep dive in part 3. We're back for the final part of our deep dive into paradigms, and I'm ready to see how all this comes together. We've explored the what and the why, but now I want to know the how. How do we actually take these concepts and apply them to create tangible change in our lives?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And the exciting thing is that it's not about finding some magic formula or following a rigid set of rules. It's about becoming more conscious, more intentional in our daily lives.
Okay, I like where this is going. Give me some specifics. What are some actionable steps we can start taking today to align our lives with those new, empowering paradigms?
One of the most powerful things you can do is to start paying attention to your self-talk. Those little voices in your head that comment on everything you do. They're a direct reflection of your paradigms.
Oh, I know those voices all too well. Sometimes they're more like a chorus of critics than a supportive inner guide.
Exactly. And the key is to start challenging those negative thoughts and replacing them with more empowering ones. For example, let's say you're working on shifting a scarcity paradigm to one of abundance.
Okay, walk me through this. Let's say I catch myself thinking I can't afford that. What's the paradigm shifting move?
First, acknowledge the thought without judgment. Simply notice it, as if you were observing a cloud passing by.
Okay, so I'm creating space between myself and the thought instead of automatically believing it.
Exactly.
One what?
Then consciously choose to replace that thought with one. That aligns with your desired paradigm. Instead of, I can't afford that, you might say, I'm open to receiving abundance in unexpected ways. Or, I'm attracting financial opportunities that align with my highest good.
So it's about becoming a conscious editor of our own thought, choosing to focus on those that empower us rather than those that limit us.
Exactly. And the more you practice this, the more natural it will become. It's like training a muscle. At first, it might feel awkward or forced. But with consistent effort, those new thought patterns will become stronger and more automatic.
This is starting to feel really practical. It's not about some grand overhaul of our lives. It's about making small, conscious shifts in our thinking and behavior.
That's exactly it. And those small shifts can have a ripple effect, creating massive change over time. Another area where you can apply this principle is in your decision-making.
Okay, how do paradigms influence our choices?
Our paradigms act as filters, shaping how we perceive the world and the options available to us. For example, if you're operating from a scarcity paradigm, you might be more likely to focus on the potential risks and downsides of a decision, while overlooking the potential rewards and opportunities.
That makes sense. So if I'm presented with a new opportunity, but that old scarcity program is running, I might automatically talk myself out of it before I even give it a chance.
That's a classic example of how paradigms can hold us back. So the next time you're faced with a decision, try this. Pause for a moment and ask yourself, what would someone with my desired paradigm do in this situation?
I love that. So if I want to cultivate an abundance paradigm, I might ask, what would a truly abundant person do in this situation?
Exactly. And by stepping into that mindset, even if it feels a bit unfamiliar at first, you'll open yourself up to new possibilities and make choices that are more aligned with your goals and aspirations.
It's like we're borrowing the wisdom and perspective of the person we're becoming, even before we fully embody that new paradigm.
That's a great way to put it. And remember, this journey of transformation is not a solo endeavor. One of the most valuable things you can do is to surround yourself with a supportive community, people who believe in your potential and encourage your growth.
We talked about finding our tribe earlier. Are there specific ways we can cultivate those kinds of relationships?
It starts with being clear about the qualities you want to cultivate in yourself and seeking out people who embody those qualities. This could involve joining groups or communities that align with your interests and values, attending workshops or events that focus on personal growth, or simply being more intentional about the conversations you have with the people in your life.
So being proactive in creating an environment that supports our growth, rather than just hoping it will magically appear.
Exactly. And as you surround yourself with more supportive and inspiring people, you'll find that your own beliefs and behaviors begin to shift as well. It's like saying you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with.
This has been such a rich and insightful exploration. We've gone from understanding the power of paradigms to learning how to shift them, and even how to apply these concepts in our daily lives.
You got it. And remember, this is just the beginning. The real transformation happens as you take these insights and start to experiment, to play, to see what works for you. Be patient with yourself. Celebrate those small wins, and never underestimate the incredible power of your mind to shape your reality.
I feel so much more equipped to navigate this journey now. Thank you for sharing your wisdom and insights.
It's been my pleasure. And
Sure.
to all of you listening, remember, you are the architect of your own life. Choose your blueprints wisely and build something extraordinary.
What a powerful way to end our deep dive. Thanks for joining us.